How exciting. My mother-in-law swore that she never wanted a cell phone. Well, then we got her one, and we told her she could text if she wanted to, and she's like, no, I won't text. And every month I check, because she's just on our plan. And she texts, like, she sends more text messages than my husband and I send. And, like, I feel like I text a lot. And I always let her know, just so you know, you had the most text messages this month. Because she swore she would never text. Today's not so bad, and if you looked at the board over here, tomorrow is a push, and so second hour I'm only gonna have 3 kids in my class, so I'm just gonna have a worksheet for you guys tomorrow, and then we're only going to have 7-1 that we did, and then this is 7-5, and that's the only ideas or the only topics that are gonna go on our, I'm calling it a test like this because it's a small test, quiz, whatever you want to call it, but it's gonna go in the test category. I hope it'll be a good test for everyone. And that will be our last test, and then we'll probably do something quick and short, like a little maybe review thing for a few days next week, and then we'll start reviewing for our final, like, for real reviewing. But, so that's the plan. Yeah, like your final, senior's final in here is on that next Tuesday, so that's really soon. But your guys' final isn't until that Thursday, so we'll for sure start reviewing on the Thursday before. We'll see what else we do before then. So no matrices. Yes. My technology conference has inspired me to do something else. So. Now this is just systems of inequality. So this first one's not even a system. I just wanted to remind you, it's been a while. Graphing an inequality, you got to put it in slope-intercept form. What's the extra stuff when you graph an inequality as opposed to an equation? What else do you have to do? Dotted or solid line, and shading. I heard both things, right? How do you know if it's a dotted line or a solid line? Oh, yeah, you guys are so smart. But the line underneath it, if only my ECA kids knew this. Today, someone in my ECA lab said, so if the big mouth eats the equation, I shade below it, right? And I said, I don't even know what that means. Yes, the one extra thing to remember about inequalities is if you divide by a negative, then this is going to flip and now become greater than or equal to, and that would become positive 2/3 x minus 2. So just watch your negatives on that. I also learned this year from teaching ECA lab because they really struggle knowing which one is a less than and which one is a greater than. And so I tell them less than kind of looks like an L on its side. That's the only way I know. Like, because at this point, like in elementary school, like it eats the bigger number. But when you have an equation with x's and y's, I don't know how to teach that. So I told them, like, if it's less than, you can kind of see how that's an L. But you can't make that an L. That would be backwards L, right? What's your way?
No, I don't have a way. Like,
oh.
I didn't even know that they had names until like 8th grade. Like less than or greater than.
Did this. That might work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
L.
I remember that.
See, like, you can make an L out of this one, but you can't make an L out of that one. It would be a 7.
Just like when I write my left and right.
I say the less than is the loser.
What? I also learned how to whistle.
No, I can't whistle.
From what? I know. Like, I don't even know why. When I was a kid, I would always be like, when they were like, whichever one makes the L, I would always go like this, because then it changes. And I was like, which way do I hold my hand? Is it like this, or is it like this? Like, that changes everything. So, I didn't know my left and right for a long time either. That's right. We all have our weaknesses. Up to over 3, I'll give you graph paper for your homework tonight as well. And this one, because it has the line underneath it, it's solid. And then remember that algebra way to see where you shade is you're supposed to pick a point and plug it in and see if it works. But with linear equations, it's pretty easy. Greater than, you shade above. Less than, you shade below. But if you weren't sure, like pick 0, 0. 0 is greater than -2. That's true. So that's why you would shade up here. And so with an inequality, instead of the answers only being on a line, every answer in this shaded region is an answer to that problem. Yes? No rose curves. No polar coordinates. Okay? Whoa.
Okay, so I remember not understanding it really long time, but we'll say why do you choose this?
Well, less than means below, greater than means above. That's the shortcut way. The other way is you just pick a point. Pick a point, and if the point works, shade where that point is. Like I picked 0, 0. It's my favorite point to pick because it's usually pretty easy to plug in. So 0, 0 works, so I shade there. If 0, 0 didn't work, I would know to shade over there. Because you are going to have to maybe graph a parabola, maybe graph a circle. Like this. Same where you live back there? Just making sure. Good to see your pretty face. I also learned about this really cool app that this guy taught precalculus and algebra 2, and he made his precalculus kids make up hints for his algebra 2 kids on a worksheet. And there's this app that they like take this picture with the app of the problem, and then they recorded themselves giving a hint. So like on this problem, you may need to make an XY chart. And then their kids, when they go to do the worksheet, they take their phone and they start their app and they go to the problem they need help with and they just hold their phone over it and the video with the clue pops up.
My Xbox knows when it's like being like, it's like, hi Jake, I'm like, oh, it's kind of creepy.
It was really, really amazing. And I told my other kids about this today and they're like, that seems like a whole lot of work. Am I being too loud? The sticks are... No, I have him second hour. No, but I have not seen him. Oh, he's missing? Okay. Fine. Has anybody seen Tyler Vandermark in the last 30 minutes? Yeah. Do you know where he was? Where he is right now?
Not right now, but he will be.
He's missing. He's missing. He's missing. They're like, have you seen Tyler Vandermark? I'm like, I have him second hour. Yes, we know. We're just wondering if you've seen him. Why wouldn't they just call him to the office? I'm recording all this. That's okay. What shape is this? Circle. We just graphed this one earlier, right? With a radius of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this a dotted circle or a solid circle? Did you forget that part? If you ever forget, I don't know if Mr. recorded this in Algebra 2, but if you ever forget to make your dotted line, especially if you're one of those crazy pin users, you can always just draw a line and tell me that it's dotted, and that would get you your points. Making a dotted circle, I really struggle with.
Well, Mr. McCoy never let us.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
That's like the main thing I was excited about this year is for in math class we use pens.
I don't
And
like
then
to.
it's really funny because my first test you like circle the big scribble mark and you're like, what? This guy just do that on my chemistry.
You are kind of a big mess sometimes with your pen, but that's okay. I don't judge. Maybe I judge quietly.
You know, I tried doing my homework the other day in 10th, like the first time and since I've joined this class, and I failed the first time. I wrote a note saying how I disappointed.
I do my enter keys in pen, and I'm not going to lie. On pre-cal and calculus stuff, sometimes I do the whole test in pencil, and then I get out a new test and redo it in pen because I can't handle having to scribble. So, like, if I make a mistake the first time I can, or I have gone back over my pencil with red pen, so that it sticks out as the enter key, but I'm not a pen math kind of person. I don't like it. When we're solving a system of inequalities, we want to know where the shading overlaps. So in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, we do this. I always say shaded and then see where the shading overlaps. But for me, I kind of just think about where I would shade it and I figure it out at the end. On this one, it's kind of hard to know maybe whether inside or outside the circle, but just pick a point, like 0, 0. Does 0, 0 work in that equation? Is 0 plus 0 less than 16? Which means that would be shaded inside. But let's not shade it yet. Let's do this first. Y is greater than x means that would be a y-intercept of 0 and a slope of 1, and that would also be a dotted line, yes? And if you're going to pick a point on this one, you can't pick 0, 0 because 0, 0 is on the line itself. So you have to pick another point. But greater than means you would shade above the line. So we want to shade everything that's inside the circle and above the line, right? So that would be like this section, right? Or maybe if you had, when I always taught Algebra 2, I like to use these fancy colors. Nice. Like the only time I ever get to use cool colors. Yes? Systems of equations? What if I gave you more than 2? Can you do that? even sent Mr. Ricketts a tweet last night about my conference. What do you think about that? I don't use Twitter very often, so my conference inspired me. He made everyone get a Twitter account, which I already had one, but some people there were very much against getting a Twitter account. But, because old people think that it's dangerous. Can't be just putting our information out there, you know. That's what people think.
When they talk about commercials with old guys on the street and they're hating on like all the new stuff. He's put like Twitter, and then eventually it's like they're like waffle taco.
Mhm. No, I haven't seen it, but what does it say?
I mean, it's just like in general.
Oh, I have to look it up. My favorite is the old ladies with the Facebook stuff where she's like, I posted all this on my wall, and it has all this stuff on the wall.
Yeah,
And then she says, I unfriend you, and the other old lady says, that's not how this works. Yeah, I think that's an insurance commercial, but that one cracks me up, so. Geico.
So like, no, Geico says they can do it in 15 minutes or less, and they say they can do it in 7.5.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a funny commercial about
it is.
technology. I have to show you the, see, look, if I had a Twitter for my classroom, I could just, send out this awesome video that I found. This guy says that everyone should have Twitter, and then when you come in, I could make you do your bell work on Twitter. Hashtag 5th period pre-cal. And then I can go look up the hashtag, and then I get all your bell works on my hashtag. And then someone in my conference yesterday said, I don't even know what you're talking about. It was very fun. It was one time. And he's like, like hashtag, like number sign. And she's like, so then do I have to go and look up every single person's Twitter account? And then he's like, no, you can just look the hashtag up, and then you would get them all. Oh, it's very interesting.
They can upgrade the computers next year.
I have no idea.
No, really.
We're forming a committee about technology, so that's all I know. We're forming a committee. Probably by the time a decision is made, you will no longer be here. So. No, I think they're looking to go to a one-to-one, so everyone would either have like a laptop or probably more like an iPad or something. So if that happens, we're not going to upgrade computers, because if we all do that, then that would be your technology that you would use, more than having, upgrading desktops at this point, probably not the smartest thing to do, because that's not what people use. He gave us a statistic yesterday that 60% of college freshmen did all of their schoolwork on their phone. Not on a laptop, not an iPad, not on a desktop, on their phone. 60%. That's pretty crazy. I couldn't imagine typing a paper on my phone. That's Ms. Nickel was saying that you did, on your phone. Which I use my phone for lots of things, but I don't think I could write a paper on my phone. But, unless I had Hannah's giant phone that was like a computer. What kind of graph does this make? A parabola. When you see only one thing squared, get the one that's not squared by itself, so they fly. That's y is greater than or equal to negative 2x squared plus 2. If you remember anything about transformations, it's really easy to graph this, but if you don't, remember that you can just make it, pick some points and make the shape of it. You know it's a parabola. But do you remember what this plus 2 out here means it does to the graph? Moves it up 2. What's this negative mean? It's flipped over. What's this 2 in front of the squared, x squared means? Stretched it out, right? Stretched by a factor of 2. But let's say you forgot that. It's okay, just pick a point. If you plug in 0 here, you're going to get 0 plus 2, which is 2, which is why it's moved up 2. If you plug in 1, you're going to get negative 2 plus 2, which is 0, and that's because normally you would go over 1, up 1, but it's flipped over, and it's stretched by a factor of 2, which is why you went over 1, down 2. And it's a parabola, so that means I can flip that same one over that way. I'm going to pick one more point just because, we are shady. If I pick 2, I would get 4 times 2 is negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. So I'm going to go one more here. And this would be a solid line, yes? Sometimes you forget the solid part or the dotted part, and you make a solid line, and your eraser might be bad, or you have pen, and that's where you can just write dotted. how do I make the line x is less than or equal to 2? Where? Which way? Like this? Like this, right? Because where x is 2 right here. X is always 2 along this vertical line, or it has undefined slope. So this would be x is less than or equal to 2. And y is less than or equal to 1. That's a horizontal line. That's a 0 slope where y equals 1. So that's going to go something like this. I need some technology. Oh, also, there's an app on your phone you can get, a whiteboard app. And so then I can get rid of these stupid whiteboards under here. And I can just be like, hey, do this problem and hold your phone up. And then you can just write it on your whiteboard on your phone. I know, we need to use them though. Like, that's the point.
Well, we could just,
We don't have Wi-Fi right now, so I don't want to, can't make you use all your data. Data. What do you say? Data? Data. I think it depends on which one I'm talking about. That's a terrible line I drew. You got to find where all this would overlap, which means that some people like to shade a little bit to see, but what about the parabola? I'm going to pick 0, 0. 0 is greater than 2. Is that true? No. So we're not going to shade where 0, 0 is. We're not going to shade inside the parabola. We're going to shade outside the parabola. Everything less than 2, that would be this way, yes? Everything less than 1 would be this way. So we need everything outside the parabola that's less than 2 and less than 1. So that would be this little section here, yes? See, Chloe, I could just tweet you the assignment. But now I can't because we can't use our phones. Is that the only place? What, Hannah? What'd you say? Would you rather me just hate technology? Man. That's how I wore my red out, I think, doing that. We've had this discussion. See the tip of the red? The tip of the blue? Because I always use red. But I've started using blue a lot, so now blue will look like this. Oh. Yes? Yes. Let's do something else. Last thing. Linear programming. We've talked too much about technology today. We're running out of time.
So is this like the last lesson?
This is the last lesson of the year.
yay.
Oh, like actual lesson.
The last new stuff you're going to learn this year. Besides some new technology. I know. She told me earlier I was being grouchy, and now I'm not being grouchy, and now she's like, oh, why are you so weird? What's wrong with you? When earlier you were telling me I was being too grumpy. Now what's wrong? Now what's wrong with me? Now what's wrong? I was just screaming at the smartboard. Like, I don't even look at them anymore. I just keep doing the problem. Not caring. No, it's Thursday and Friday, and people were sleeping in class today when the test is this Thursday.
Well, if they fail,
Well, Hannah, that's why I'm a teacher and you shouldn't be a teacher, because I care.
he just told us straight up. If you don't care about your grading.
Linear programming sounds more exciting or maybe less exciting than it really is, but basically it's a way if you have linear constraints, and constraints are just inequalities. Fancy word there. You can maximize or minimize the region that's bounded. This is really useful when you are trying to make a product. You want to make the product for as least amount of money as you can, but you want to maximize your revenue. And so you can make up all these equations and graph them and then figure out where's the maximum, where's the minimum that you can do here. So here's the idea. When they ask you to find the maximum or the minimum, step 1 is sketch the shape, or sketch the inequalities and find where they overlap. Step 2, find the vertices, which means you have to find the points of intersection, and then you're going to test the vertex in the function that they give you to find the max or min of. Sometimes there's not a max or min, because sometimes it doesn't make a closed figure. We call that bounded and unbounded, and we'll talk about that some tomorrow as we go over the homework. But basically, I just want you to graph the region and find where they intersect. And unlike Algebra 2, you might actually have to do some substitution or elimination because they might cross at a fraction. Not as ugly as the ones that we did on AT, but okay, can I go? This looks terrible, right? What time do we get out of here? In like 3 minutes, right? It's never gonna happen. I'm holding you hostage.
Yeah. Instead of the worksheet, then we can do our homework in class.
Deal. That's solid.
That way we can ask.
And we probably understand it better.
Exactly. And then we can all ace the class test.
Yes.
How about this? We'll finish this last example tomorrow, but you can still do some homework. How about that? Deal.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Feel like I just write it down that way.
Nope.
Yeah. I can see it.
Hey, guess what? You can do all but the last two.
Oh. Yeah, really good.
So do 1 through 6, which is just matching a graph with an equation and inequality that's shaded, and then 18, 21, 22, and 24 are graphing ones, and I'll give you some graph paper, and then 31 and 35 are linear programming that we'll finish up tomorrow. And then we won't have a worksheet. Then I don't have to make a worksheet. Look at this. It's a win-win situation for all.
Wait for your worksheet tomorrow.
We were going to do a worksheet tomorrow, but now we're not. In the second hour, we're doing nothing tomorrow because there's only going to be 3 kids in class. So you guys are going to get a worksheet, but they weren't going to get it. But I haven't made a worksheet yet, so now I'm not going to make a worksheet. Now we can watch my technology video, so
Yes.
get y'all amped up about it.
But then we started crying.
Yeah. Kimberly today, she was very grumpy. She said, no one's going to like doing this. And I said, Kimberly, you're just deflating. You're deflating my excitement. And she said, oh, wait, you want a different one? We want a million graphs. You want one that's like hers? And she said, I'm just saying what everyone else is going to say.
I kind of want to, but then I don't. Because some people might ruin it for others.
Well, we're not going to have ourselves enough. But we're going to use technology. Make something. Help us review for the final.